Right, welcome back to part 2 of this little introductory series of Against the Storm. We left off our previous episode, or our previous little insert, after going over the very basics of what's going on over here. So right now what we need to do is we need to work on our little orders over here in the top right and hopefully weather the storm coming. To do so, we will need one additional woodcutter's camp. We need some more wood being harvested. We also need a trading post, and we need to get some money by selling stuff. So probably right now the most reasonable thing to do is get one more woodcutter's camp and get a trading post. Right, woodcutter's camp, it just costs us 2 gears. Let's pop it down right here and have some woodcutting going on over there as well. And we also need a trading post. We've got the resources for that as well. I would really appreciate it if it was a little bit further from our main area, but I guess we'll have to do with what we've been given. We can order these guys maybe to... No, because that's going to be the production area. Let's have the trading hub be built over here, so please, mining woodworking dwarfs, come and cut the wood over there. We don't even need to assign anyone over here to this woodcutter's camp for now. We already completed, we have 2 out of 2 woodcutter's camps and we have 34 out of 30 wood. So we pop back in here, complete, deliver our little order, and we're gonna get 10 resin, 3 parts and 2 additional newcomers. We got 1 additional human and 1 dwarf, I guess, 1 beaver. And we also reached one of these little blueprints rewards, so we can consider which new blueprint we want to be using moving forward. We already have a means to generate planks, so that's not really interesting to us. We do, on the other hand, like coats. We do need simple tools, everyone needs simple tools. So it's probably going to be the smithy, but that's going to be a lot more down the line. It's absolutely not going to be right now. Just a tad little bit down the road, we've actually managed to clear out the area for our trading post. So we're going to pop that down right now. We, in the meantime, ran out of any stones to be mined, so I cleared out our stonecutter's camp. There's no point in wasting people on doing nothing. And we've come to the point where we also need to consider we need additional resources. Now, as I mentioned earlier, we can pop open these new little glades to find what's hidden inside them, what additional resources. The only thing to consider... Oh, and it's year number 2 as well. Let's pick a new cornerstone. Woodcutters have -5 resolve, but we get 3 simple tools. I can live with that. And then we also get our first set of newcomers, which every year we also get a bunch of new people coming to the city. We currently don't have any of the lizard men, so I'm just gonna pick those guys up for sake of variety. Anyhow, going back to opening glades, what you need to consider when opening glades is that the forest has its own living spirit and its own thoughts about life and all that jazz. And it really doesn't appreciate you just cutting through. It gets pissed off basically because you have woodworkers even. But then again, whenever you pop open a little half, one of these little glades, it gets even more angry. And the more and more angry it is, the more the negative effects of the seasons will occur. Right, so we popped open herb node and stone deposit, which is good because we need our stonecutter's camp to be doing something. Might as well just bring this back over here. Assign 2 little stonecutters, let's say humans for the time being. And the other resources were these herb nodes. We need to figure out if we can collect those. Vegetable, grain. Unfortunately, we don't have the herbalist camp during this mission right now, because being a roguelike game, you get randomly offered stuff. So situations like this can occur where you will not be able to access resources. Maybe only later down the line, once you're done with these little blueprint openings, or it's completely feasible that you won't ever be able to open this herb node. As far as I can tell, there are ways around it, for example by unlocking, increasing your baseline building variety in the tech tree. We'll get back to that later at some point. In the meantime, we accidentally opened this glade as well, with a bunch of insects and vegetables, which is good because we can harvest both of these nodes as far as I'm considered. We have the foragers camp to get these things, and then we have the foragers camp to get these things as well, so that's good. And the trader arrived as well. Let's see if there's anything interesting going on. These are additional unlockable perks that will permanently affect your current map. This is where all our goods are, this is their goods. Question is, well, we do want to sell something because we need to collect 5 ember for our little mission. So let's see if there's, for example, this resin. We don't really need it, that's a late game material. Or, right, we can just sell one of our essences, and that's already mission completed. Please give us money. Oh, you're gonna trade us in a shitty way, I see. In that case, here, you can have some resin. And once the two sides are roughly equivalent, we can trade. And there you go, we've completed this mission as well. Quickly hand it in. We got some biscuits, some parts, and some simple tools, which will be useful later on. Now the real question being, do we actually want to buy anything from her? We could consider some of these common food sources, because then we can start turning those into provisions and stuff we can sell. Or we can consider moving up the tech tree and unlocking the lumber mill, for which we would need to have 2 sets of bricks. So I'm definitely going to buy 2 bricks off of this woman. But also, I would like to secure some additional clay, for example, because we currently don't have any effective way of collecting clay. So let's probably just buy 10 clay off of her, if we can. That's 5, oh my Jesus. Sweet baby Jesus. A 4, oh yes, we can just use our wildfire essence. Maybe we can sell some stone as well. There you go, 2 pieces of stone, enjoy. Off with ya. Now as we're getting closer to hostility level 1, I would really appreciate if our woodcutters stopped opening glades, so we will make sure that they are told to avoid opening glades. And our second set of orders has arrived as well. Let's see if there's anything. Dangerous glades. Open 1 dangerous glade. That's pretty ridiculously easy to do. On the other hand, however, this is a pretty good perk if we want to keep producing things to sell, and traders will arrive quicker, which is also a pretty good thing. We're gonna take the harder one. Produce 30 jerky or have 16 villagers sheltered, which is something we should already be. No, we have a few homeless people we didn't tend to, so we need to handle that at some point as well. But gain 10 jerky for every 10 pie produced, which sounds reasonable. However, we need to check if we can. We can only cook skewers and biscuits. We cannot currently cook either jerky nor biscuits. Maybe are missing. We could do jerky in the cellar, but it's with only 1 star. It's a shitty efficiency. Shitty efficiency of biscuits in the smelter. And absolutely nothing we want over here at the scribe. So I think we're just gonna take the brickyard for the crystallized dew and the bricks. Probably we will get some use out of this later down the line. Also, I completely forgot to start opening up the woodlands behind our storage area. So you good sirs, please start working over here. Where is my other woodcutters camp? Here. You can work over here as well. And we need to move the scavengers camp because it's in the way of us building our first production building, which is going to be the lumber mill. Now, the way production buildings work is all of them are capable of producing 3 different items. In the case of the lumber mill, it's going to be planks, scrolls and pack of trade goods with different levels of efficiency, as we touched on already. There's usually a specialization bonus involved as well. That's why we filled this up with beavers, as they're good with wood. And the higher the efficiency, pretty much the less resources you're gonna need to transform simple wood into planks. If this was only a 1-star plank generating area, we would probably need to use 8 or even 10 wood just to get the same amount of planks. Also, there are some specific resources, for example planks, that can only be made from 1 ingredient. But most of the items, as you can see over here, for example scrolls or packs of trade goods, baseline are made from 8 pieces of pigment, but if you open up the little rotating wheel, you can actually make pack of trade goods by either using 8 pigment, 8 oil, 6 flour and so on and so forth. Main reason I'm guessing behind this is that considering you have randomly generated maps with randomly generated resources and randomly generated access to the resources, I can imagine half of the game wouldn't be functioning if you could only use 1 ingredient to make 1 item, because you wouldn't simply wouldn't have access to any of it. So a bit down the line, we have managed to improve our settlement a little bit. We managed to set up a working production line of food, pretty much. Whatever insects and plant fiber we extract, we just turn them into meat and eggs, which then later on in the cookhouse we turn into skewers, effectively using 8 pieces of resources to gain 13, 2 to gain 5, and then mixing these to gain 10 pieces of skewers out of 4 and 4 meat and eggs, which is a great recipe for success, but we're pretty much running out of any resource nodes to interact with. We only have a little bit of broccoli left down here and a tad bit of insects over here. So it's a great opportunity to have a gander at the bigger grade of glades, the dangerous glades, which we will ask our little woodworking beavers to open up for us right now, down here. Dangerous glades are pretty much a bigger compilation of these minor glades, so there's always going to be a greater amount of resources in here, but at the same time, there's also always some kind of danger, or as the description says, this glade contains a threat. Well, don't expect anything military related. It's going to be a resource node that has a request to be fulfilled, and once that is fulfilled you will get the yield from it, and it's usually pretty worthwhile. You just have to have a decent stock of materials to have in exchange that you can deliver and fulfill the request. There we go. Right now in this big grove we have a lumber mill, which if we renovate, if we rebuild, we will have an additional working production structure, or we can just salvage it for fabric and a bunch of insects if we want to use that. We have a smaller or large abandoned cache. We can exchange our simple tools for pretty much a boatload of resources down here, or we can just say we don't need the goods, we can send it all to the capital, which results in us getting an additional amount of money and some reputation, advancing us towards our win condition. We also have herbs, a little bit of nodes, we have a little bit of eggs down here, And then the threat is a large destroyed caravan, which gives you 10 minutes to do something. Otherwise, traders will not visit the area, trading and trade routes will be blocked, and one impatience point, which is the evil meter on the bottom side of the screen. What we need to do within 10 minutes is people are afraid of whatever destroyed the caravan, -5 global resource, is active only while its corresponding event is being worked on. So right now, this is the type of event that does not request you to trade in some of your resources. You only need to trade in 3 minutes and 30 seconds of 2 of your villagers' time. And considering we can always use some more resources, I think we're actually going to go with that route. We choose our reward and we send them in to investigate. In the meantime, we can also start working on these other nodes, which I think we will also just take as it is. We're not going to send anything to the citadel right now. We can still use some resources to build up our economy, and then later on we can opt for these options rather. And as far as this lumber mill goes, I think we're just gonna repair it using 2 simple tools, although we already have one, so I'm not sure if we want to increase our plank production. Let's just take the fabric and the insects over here, and you're going to have to single-handedly manage this dwarf fellow until there are people that can come and help you. Pretty much that's the gist of these bigger dangerous glaives. There's also one additional type, I'm not sure if any of those spawned on this map. One level above being a dangerous glaive, which is a forbidden, there you go, this is the forbidden glade. This is pretty much the same thing, but on an even bigger scale. Usually you need to deliver a lot of resources, but in exchange you get some huge boons, like you would get, I don't know, 3 whole production buildings, giant resource nodes that you could be mining for ages, and that kind of reward for all the effort you put into completing the task required. So we're way down the run. By now we're nearing the end game. I'd say we have a proper, decently sized city going on over here, with some specialized houses for our beavers and our humans, which makes them even happier than just living in this shithole big shelter. Our production is going strong, we're packed full of resources, and right now the end game actually kicked in because we opened up a cache off screen. This is what you get. You get a score, a multiplier, some rewards that we took a look at the beginning, 16 food stockpiles and 4 pieces of machinery. We unlocked a few deeds as well, 3 of them. We can decide to either keep going on, continue settlement, and then you can just keep playing with your little settlement until the end of time. This is where we unlocked the cache. Also, this was the previously seen Forsaken Glade, which has monstrosities like this draining mole. He needs 20 food, he gives a buttload of valuable resources, but in exchange he also increases the forest hospitality by 100 points and gives you a giant resolve dump while you manage to handle him. And once you're done fiddling over here, you can just go to the menu and literally move on. Yes, I'm ready to start a new expedition. Back to main menu. This was the little city we were in Inoga. And all that's left is to go to the smoldering city, our main hub. We can cash in the deeds that we just unlocked, all 3 of them. They give us... this gives us a new essential comfort building. This is just decoration you can add to the city, but it also helps you increase the level of the city you're playing, which gives a boosted level of morale. We collect that, we get the XP, move on, and then this is just a bunch of bonus experience points for both of these. For the next one we're gonna hit level 8. And by doing so, we've unlocked some things on the tech tree and a bunch of new building types that we can build moving forward. And this is a new trader as well, who will bring different goods than the others. Mist pieces, and this is a cornerstone. This is the thing that we could select at the beginning of each year. And if we go over to upgrades, this is the tech tree that overarches your different playthroughs. As you progress in levels, new additional tiers will unlock for you to mess around with. And this is where you can spend the resources that you collect. Currently we have 20 food, 7 machinery and 3 artifacts. So unfortunately we cannot buy Brass Forge, which would allow us the hub upgrades, but maybe there's something else. This is also too expensive. We can unlock a passive permanent plus 2% to burning duration and new embark bonuses. I'm not really interested in that right now, not feeling it. So, although cornerstone pool increase does sound juicy, I'll just keep on fiddling with this. You don't need to enjoy me just looking at text on the screen. I hope this gave you somewhat of a semblance of an idea of what's going on with Against the Storm. And it was a nice addition to the review also released. If you don't mind, I'd be happy if you actually said a few words, whether or not this was worth your time, whether this was interesting, how I could improve it. If you have any positive or even negative feedback, feel free to drop it down in the comments. And I'll see you in the next one.